Okay, so this is the situation at what? I just checked the time and I gotta check it again. 11:30 in the morning of October 15th at Leipzig. This is before when traditionally the battle is considered to have started. Because historically, in the first couple days, there was sporadic and limited fighting. The first couple days of the game as represented. Neither side, for whatever reason, really wanted to pursue things. Neither side's army is fully there. But the French have a local superiority from the 14th through today. And so I took advantage of that and swept the coalition forces from this region. The Austrians tried to limp their way down. They got driven off that way, I think. And the Russians and Prussians were beginning to fall apart here. They decided to transfer over to here, where additional reinforcements were supposed to come on. Well, the net effect of that was probably negative, because my coalition forces were fatigued. It directed all of the French forces to that area in better shape, where they pretty much defeated them in detail and have driven them from the map. And that is changing how the campaign is going to go. What would be a reasonable solution is for the French to pursue, hit the army of Bohemia, and strike it with all their force. But again, not everything the French have has come on the board yet. We still have a couple of infantry corps left that would be at great risk to the army of Silesia and the army of the North, that are falling back from them towards my strength. That could still be happening with this pursuit happening. If I had a bigger map that covered that other area, I would be doing that. But I don't have that. So I've come up with a rationale, and you could call it, hey, I did better with Napoleon as far as I'm concerned than, or better with the French than Napoleon managed to in these first 2 days, where he shied away from the combat for various reasons, whatever. But by concentrating my force against the elements of the army of Bohemia, I destroyed it. I really did. Every single corps involved in it reached some level of wrecked status, and they were pushed off the map. But now I believe in presenting some sort of defense. There's the possibility that the remainder of the army of Bohemia will come in late in the day from here. That's what they're scheduled to do. Like I handle with withdrawals from the map, I think I'm going to allow them to shift their entry hex at a cost in time. And everything is going to kind of enter tomorrow morning instead. What that's going to allow is for the French to position themselves to react to the entry of multiple armies at the same time. The army of Bohemia will be coming on, not giving me the opportunity to defeat it in detail, at about the same time that the army of Silesia is coming on. I don't know if the army of the North shows up on the 16th. Perhaps. There's a lot of space here, so it's, yeah, you could look at the sheets. That'll put Napoleon in a much more tricky position. And I would very much favor pursuing with as much as I could, maybe leaving some forces to help as a rear guard for any withdrawals that those two remaining French corps would have. But I've got a good head start, even if it comes to sacrificing those two corps. Smashing the army of Bohemia is definitely worthwhile. And then coming back and facing another army. But again, I don't have the room on the map for that. It doesn't extend that far south. So we're going to play this by what we can within the constraints of the scenario. And again, that's okay. Many scenarios put, idiot roles in play or whatever. Well, the idiot role in play here is Napoleon will not leave that far from Leipzig to go pursue the army of Bohemia in this case. So there you have it. There are a lot more coalition forces coming on, though. You see, I've got 2 corps here plus some extra, but this is what is left for the coalition. That's a lot. Okay, so the French begin the slow process. Napoleon giving one order this turn, Murat giving one order this turn. No reason to write orders. Recovering stragglers where we can, and trying to figure out where to position our defenses. We have a few places to worry about. We have to worry about this ridge line. I think we're going to worry about over here. That's going to take a big force to hold. We have to worry about the Erfurt Road. I will be sending Mortier there, I think. No, I sent Druitt with the old guard there. And we have to worry about the north in general. We also have to worry, like I said, the Altenburg line gets me here. There's forces over here that have left the map. This is the Grimace stuff. Some Austrians over there. It's going to be hard to link them up with the rest of the army of Bohemia. I don't know what we're going to be doing. But yeah, everything's got to figure out its way onto the map. And timing-wise, this is going to actually put more pressure on Napoleon than historically happened, because a lot of this stuff's going to show up at once tomorrow. So instead of coming in piecemeal where it could be defeated in detail, however, a lot of it's beaten up already. The old stuff has taken quite a licking. Of course, Napoleon did show quite a bit of success on the 16th, which is when things are going to be heading out anyway, in terms of racking up some hits on some of the coalition forces, because the numbers weren't fully in right away. So we'll see what comes of it all. I'm going to be making up roles to make this work, because again, the pursuit would have happened. I know what's going on. The Austrians are withdrawing to go join the rest of their corps. I think that's perfectly within order, within roles to rejoin your command. They were kind of iffy to be in existence there, but I thought they might be of some value to holding the position. But at this point, yeah, the French are just going to hunt them down. So screw it. Let's get a move before some cav gets its sights on us. So a couple hours later, we're at, I guess we just finished the 2 p.m. turn. All the coalition forces are off the map, and Napoleon's troops are moving every which way, going to where I assigned them. You'll see where that lands. It's basically going to be a guard line running up. Kind of ignoring that section because, again, I got 2 corps coming in from that direction tomorrow, I think, which should be sufficient to position things, I hope. They should be coming earlier than the coalition forces do, and we'll see how it all plays out. I do not like trying to set up a defensive perimeter like this. It feels absolutely wrong. It feels so wrong to be surrounded on all sides. I do not feel like this is a good situation. Yes, I understand interior lines, but I just don't trust the capability to react quickly enough with defensive units. Whereas offensive units, yeah, you see them coming, you try to set your defense to go in that direction, and then you find out the offensive units are not heading quite the way you thought they were, and they find a weakness, whatever. When things are very, very open like this, I actually prefer to be on the offense because defense is just too hard. On other cases where there's like terrain features that you have to defend, like in most of the Gettysburg, ooh, little woodpecker guy. I don't know if you could see him. I usually only get excited about the big ones, but the little ones are harder to see. Anyway, you know, in cases like the Gettysburg games where it's like, oh, you want to hold this ridge line. That's great. Here, there are a lot of ridge lines. And there would be if you expanded Gettysburg out enough, if you didn't put a victory point value on, you know, Cemetery Hill or a Little Round Top for whatever reason that they are. Yes, they kind of dominate the roadways. So do some of these. But here, the goals are just so amorphous. Destroy the enemy. Well, that's really a matter of figure out how to get your troops to where the enemy's weak and concentrate your own forces where he's weak, and then see where the battle develops. And, you know, Napoleon wasn't a big fan of defensive positions either, so. All right, later here, what, the 1500 turn, 3 o'clock. More French troops coming in though. Napoleon running up to meet them, give them some orders. I'm planning on using them to defend the west side of Leipzig over there. I figure this terrain is so nasty that if the coalition wants to go through it, especially the swamps, let them try. If they want to go through the woods, that's a little trickier. It might be what I use this to defend into. I'm not sure. And other things moving, albeit slowly. And I forgot to move those cav. And then Sudi is, he's really puzzled as to where he should be. It's one thing that helps about not having to write orders. Basically, he's waiting for Oudinot, right? No, Marmont to take up position. Marmont's going to be taking up a position up there, and I think I'll be holding the gap between those. But then that leaves me with a question of what Pujol is doing. So I'm kind of leaving Nansoti there as a, I guess he's kind of a reserve that I will dispatch as needed, where Cav is necessary. Basically, there's sort of a big swath of the battlefield where Cav is really useful. And then a chunk here and over here where it's not. And then it's useful again down here, I guess. But it just does not work in that lousy terrain. We're at the 1730 turn as the French defenses are beginning to solidify a little more. Another big corps. MacDonald coming in there. My plan for him is, I believe, to cover this gap. And I've got one more infantry corps coming on, I think. No. I've got a cav corps under Sebastiani, which I don't know what I'm going to do with. I feel like I probably need more support for Druitt over here. Not thrilled with what's there. I don't know if Sebastiani is enough to do that, but I don't have another place for him, really. And Napoleon's heading off to talk to MacDonald. After he does that, I'm probably going to station him somewhere back here with my reserves so that I can, you know, send forces where they're needed as quickly as possible. And then, you know, if I see that coalition's not moving up this road, I could pull Victor back. He's sort of the break wall there. My main focus is going to be over here, where I think much of the coalition forces are heading. I could be wrong. We're saying I had some scouting that the forces I retreated off the map were heading towards Altenburg, whatever. So I'm giving myself a little bit of a benefit of the doubt there in terms of positioning. There's also there's not that much room here. I had way too much force down there initially. I probably have too little now, but there's no other good terrain for me to defend other than this ridge line, and Victor pretty much has that covered. Certainly, if I move something like Oudinot down there, I'm in great shape. Over here, things are going to be nicely covered. A little weak over here, a little weak over there. Focus again on the Army of Bohemia. Try to bust it up while it's still in play. While it's still able to maneuver and whatever. Once I destroy that, then I can move and focus on the other armies. That's the plan. Nightfall is coming fairly soon, and you can see I've moved the Allied armies up about 8 hours for them to enter on the Altenburg map. We'll see. Things may not be strong enough to hold off that Army of Bohemia right away. I don't necessarily have the best troops here. Laurelstone's okay, but Augural has weaker forces. I've got some really iffy Allied forces, but also some very good troops in MacDonald's Corps. So that's going to be kind of interesting, where you'll see some units that, are equivalent to grenadiers for anyone else, 8, maybe even 9 morale units, but other units that just don't have that kind of staying power. Definitely saw a 6. I'm wondering if I saw even less than that. I think I may have seen a 5 in there, which is really crappy. The next day's reinforcements on the board, and you can see the preponderance of what's coming in is coalition forces. Add to that all of these are going to be showing up as well. That is going to be painful. I actually have some troops still coming in from Pegau. We'll see what happens with that. They come in a little later, but these guys are going to come in around dawn, 3 a.m., whatever. No, not 3 a.m. Yeah, right? 6 a.m. is the dawn turn. Along with a mixture of both Bohemian and Silesian forces coming on the board. It's going to get ugly real fast, I think. But not sure. Anyway, it's not nighttime quite yet. It's getting close in multiple ways. And I got chickens. Same ones I chased down the road. They often get loose into that yard. I don't really know what their deal is. I know that the chickens down the street in the other direction when they were there would get out, but it was pretty irregular, like less than once a week. I don't know. But these guys seem to be getting out pretty regularly, and there's nothing to keep them in there once they're in that field. So whatever coop they have, they've figured out a way to get out of it. And I guess they come home and try to find their way back into it. All's in it. It's a new day. French positions, not all that changed, but you can see developing that reserve back here. Marmont is getting himself into position where he's supposed to be. MacDonald has a long way to march tonight. He's probably not going to make it in time, but on the other hand, I think that the Austrian forces coming in over there might take a while to deploy and actually threaten the area where he's supposed to defend, which is in here. I have the reserve and I have Pajol's Cav, but MacDonald will be tired if he gets there. So it would have been better if I had positioned Marmont across there and MacDonald over there, but MacDonald's got better troops overall. So it seemed wise, but I may have to do a shift. Napoleon's on his way down to consider the situation. See the defense here north of Leipzig beginning to form up. Those are some additional poles. They're part of Poniatowski's troop. And that's going to cause problems because he too will be fatigued if those reserves keep marching. Again, some of the abstraction causes things to kind of break apart a little bit. Sebastiani is at the tail of McDonald there. And moving not all that quickly because he ran up against that tail. His goal is going to be to come down here and help defend the old guard. But otherwise, I feel like I have everything kind of covered, at least in theory. However, this is when the coalition starts to come in with all their forces. And it all happens at once. It's not piecemeal anymore because of the way things got shifted. And that could be Napoleon's downfall here, is that, everything's kind of triggered and is going to be coming in and hitting the fan at once. On the negative side for the coalition, at least, the army of Bohemia is spread about without good order, without, orders everywhere, basically. So Schwarzenberg's going to have a hard time. He's going to have to try to connect up his armies, and that is not going to be trivial. On the other hand, the Silesian army should probably be coming in fairly steadily. And I don't know what's in the Northern Army. I don't think that's coming on yet. No, that's tomorrow. And likewise, the Army of Poland, I think, comes in real late. So, at least it's not all the coalition forces coming in. There's still one corps of French left under Rainier that comes in tomorrow. And a whole bunch of coalition troops to make the next couple of days uglier. I think nothing comes in on the 19th, I hope. Yeah, there's no reinforcements listed for the 19th. Trying to remember if there's any significant actions on the 19th. That might be after Napoleon has pretty much decided he's lost and starts withdrawing. I always like there to be a little bit of extra time on a game. It's like the Gettysburg games. I'm always happy when there's an extra day, the 4-day option. If need be, if the battle's not decided, I can go more turns, but it's the potential of weather. This is October, and it's all good weather during the battle span, but there might be like a 50-50 chance that the battle just fails if it tries to go too late, and then we'll judge on that. I am not expecting anything other than a draw. The idea of destroying an army, whatever the hell that means, and the way I'm taking it, it means putting everybody into demoralization status. Well, not everyone, because the guards can't be put in, the old guard can't be put into it. But if it means doing the equivalent, like excess to other units, or just calculate out what the whole demoralization status would be, and if you reach that full value or whatever, the army's busted. It's just not defined. Clearly, it can't be destroy every unit in every corps. It's just not how such a battle would happen. And the fact that Hanau, shows the withdrawal, Napoleon wasn't defeated then, under those conditions. But yeah, at some level or another, I will be able to make some judgment that the army is destroyed, even though there's no rules for what that means. That's okay. Most of the corps in desperation status, I would say, is good enough. But we'll see. What kind of things I make up when I get to that stage. All right. into the new day, I guess. I remember a while back I talked about counters that had been fixed. Apparently they're actually in this game. These are the right size and morale value on this unit. It appears to be some kind of correction. It's hard to tell how. This is a sticker. This, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe some black ink on there. I didn't do this. I thought this game was unpunched, but it's possible that the guy who owned it previously made a correction. I'm pretty sure he didn't correct everything because I've got a lot of things that are in error, but some of the things that are in error aren't in the errata. This is the first time I've noticed one of those. So apparently it's from this game that I noticed someone had made a correction. That may be the only one. Not the only one, and worse than that, these don't look like cav. These have artillery underneath. Again, some kind of sticker or something was put on to cover that up. See, this one, worse job was done. Turning a 6 to a 9 is hard with a pen, whereas turning something to a 10 was easy. But whatever they did, they went out of their way to make little stickers for the size. I'm not quite sure what the other things, what they're doing, because there's like, well, here, I don't know. It almost looks like they painted over a really, really good job, if that's the case, in terms of the numbering on those, as well as with the morale number, not in comparison to the movement number, which looks like not much better than I would have done. This is the end of this video as dawn breaks in a little bit more, moving into the 6:30 turn. What is the story so far? Well, check the story so far from the last video for sort of the full story before this. But what happened was Napoleon chased the initial forces of the Army of Bohemia off the map. And he's gotten a lot of reinforcements since then and started to set up a sort of sectored defense around Leipzig, hoping to use interior lines to try to defeat the enemy in detail. What do we have coming on and not coming on? Well, we actually have, these are Grimna. What the fuck's Grimna? Ah, okay. These guys should be coming on the board as well from the Rochlitz-Grimna line. I haven't set them up yet. They'll move on this turn and you'll see. They'll get to about here. I gotta give them orders. The Army of Bohemia has some remnants that are gonna be coming on from there. The Austrian Corps that got chased off really early. Now we have Hohenlohe, who I thought was that Austrian Corps, but it's not. It's Clanau. We have Hohenlohe coming on here. These were shifted from Pegau, and Constantine, leading the combined Russian-Prussian Guard, will be following that up. Because Pegau's not supported for, some of the forces got diverted, other forces that got damaged are coming in later up this way. I'm shifting the forces that are coming in on Pegau this way. That's not going to slow me down too much because I've got such a traffic jam over here. Finally, the last of the Army of Bohemia is over here with Liechtenstein and Gyulai, who have orders to try to take Lindenau-Plagwitz. Not really taking into account what's where, etc. I view that getting that quickly is important. I can make certain decisions based on that. So for whatever reason, Blucher and York are heading through here, across one of the few bridges on the Elster, to help them. Now this is two armies combining. Blucher is not going to be able to give orders to these guys. And there's a real problem to this whole situation, which is there's almost no bridges across the Elster. You have these roads, which the French have not blown and are not allowed to blow until I don't know when, October 19th, which means if I could force my way across them early, I might get an advantage pushing this way, and I have no idea what to do with the Austrians. They have no way to get this way. Maybe they can skirt the whole field. Maybe they can try to cut down through these swamps, but they've got artillery and stuff. That's not going to work. I don't know. Maybe they turn around and head back down and take like a day to get around to here. Or maybe I try to operate them on initiative, or maybe attach them to Blucher based on some kind of die roll or something, or some kind of penalty. Unfortunately, probably the penalty isn't worth it. So you'll see his order following under initiative is basically the same, both of them, as their order following without. Luckily for me, these guys are kind of intransigent. They're not apparently big fans of following orders anyway. At least not Schwarzenberg's. Maybe they'd be okay with Blucher, but I don't want to reposition things in the army. I want the Army of Bohemia to pay some significant price for what they allowed to happen. So I want to get these guys connected back up with the rest of their army. So that's what we got right now. The coalition forces are entering still piecemeal, but nowhere near as badly as they actually did. On the other hand, it's all coming in fairly late, and the French have positioned a pretty good perimeter everywhere. So, with one big exception. But I've got the cavalry covering that, and MacDonald is coming. He'll be tired, but he's coming, as are, there's another gap here. There's some additional troops for Poniatowski that are coming to hook that up. That's problematic because Poniatowski is going to get tired by those guys moving. Problems with the abstraction. I think there's only a couple of infantry, though, and they're really the only ones that I have to worry about. So maybe I'll heal up, let the artillery and cav catch up, and see what I can do. That is the situation at the beginning of the 16th. And now things start getting complicated. There's so many forces on the board. There's attacks coming from every direction. Now, if I wanted to follow anything at all historical, I would have marched down the Halle Road. But I believe cracking this is important, and then the reinforcements that keep coming down there, I'll be able to push that first corps up and hit kind of the corner near Leipzig. Defending Leipzig is not necessarily easy. Taking it's hard, but because of the way the walls and the village work, it basically means neither side can do shit to each other. One side sits in the city and can't really shoot because they'd be shooting through the wall. Artillery could, but not well. They'd be shooting through the wall, apparently, not positioned on it or anything wise like that. It's probably too fragile. And they only have one strength point firing out of the city. So since the wall drops them by 2, they're below 0. They can't fire at all. But firing into it is at a -4 penalty. Let's say you're not firing. Let's say you want to melee. Well, meleeing out of the town is okay. That's not going to hurt you. But meleeing through the wall is still -2, even if you're the defender. Makes sense. You're trying to hop the wall or something. Which makes almost all units have a 0, so they can't melee through it. And meleeing into it is at -4. Nothing can do that. So the town is basically an invulnerable place you can hide, which kind of makes sense. It means it has to be sieged, and that's fine. It just feels a little weird to me when I'm used to things like Dresden or when I'm used to the walls not being bi-directional, which they seem to be here. I don't think I treated them that way in Danzig. You don't deal with the walls of the town there, but you do deal with some defensive structures like this. However, fortification and walls. Yeah. Yeah, there's no indication that it's only a one-way thing. So again, I guess these are too high and not really things that, troops can use to defend themselves. But they can cover your flank and stuff like that. So they have some purpose, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm doing behind this one. Okay. So that's our situation. I'm about to fall over my beanbag. And this is the battlefield as of the beginning of the 16th, which was when the major fighting really started. Well, we're going to see some serious fighting, but we've already seen some fighting of significance in this game.